I've had this for a bit now, and a few people asked me about it, so here is my take. I have been running it in my place for the last few weeks, basically treating it like part of the routine. I have a mix of hard floors and a couple of rugs, plus the usual daily mess from cooking, shoes at the door, and hair that somehow ends up everywhere. If you are the kind of person who wants the floors maintained without thinking about it every day, this is the type of robot that tries to get you there. If you love doing detailed cleaning yourself and you want total control over every corner, you might still use it, but you will probably be pickier about its limits. What makes the Qrevo S interesting, at least for me, is not that it vacuums and mops. Lots of robots do that. It is the fact that I can let it run for days with very little attention, because the dock handles a lot of the annoying parts. The robot comes back, drops its dirt into a bigger bag, washes the mop pads, then dries them with warm air. That last part matters more than I expected, because mop pads that stay damp start to smell pretty fast in real life. With this one, I have not had that sour mop smell drifting around the laundry area. Physically, the robot is the usual low round shape, and that has been a good thing in my space. It fits under my couch and most of my cabinets, which is where I usually find the most dust. The finish is a clean white, and I like that it does not stand out much. It just looks like an appliance that belongs in the corner. The dock is the part you notice. It is tall and it takes up some floor space. It feels solid, not flimsy, but you do need to plan where it is going to live. In a small apartment, you cannot just pretend it will disappear. I had to move a small shelf to give it a spot where it could dock without scraping walls. Setup was straightforward. I plugged the dock in, set the robot on it, then connected it in the Roborock app over Wi-Fi. The app walked me through it without confusion. I did have one moment where it took a second try to connect, but once it was on my network, it stayed stable. I am not doing anything advanced with routers or special settings, just normal home internet. Daily use is where it started to make sense for me. I set up a schedule so it runs while I am doing other things. On a normal day, I do a quick scan of the floor because no robot is magic with clutter. If there is a charging cable, a small sock, or a toy on the ground, I pick it up. When I forget, the Qrevo S does okay with bigger stuff like shoes, but it can still get caught on smaller objects. It is not a disaster when it happens, but it can interrupt a run, and then I am the one who has to go rescue it. So the reality is, you still need basic floor discipline if you want a smooth experience. Once it starts cleaning, the mapping and navigation feel controlled. It moves like it knows where it is going instead of wandering around randomly. It built a map of my place quickly, and after that it settled into a pattern that made sense. It is also less of a furniture bumper than the older robots I have used. It still taps chair legs sometimes, but it is not slamming into things. I have a coffee table with tricky legs, and it learned the shape after a couple of runs and started navigating around it without drama. Vacuuming performance has been strong in my day-to-day use. I do not obsess over numbers, but I can tell you the practical result. On the rugs, it pulls up hair that I would normally see collecting near the edges. On hard floors, it gets the gritty stuff from near the door, and it does not leave that line of crumbs that some robots push around. I have a dog, and the hair is the real test for me. I have watched it pick up longer hair without instantly choking. That said, I still check the main brush every so often, because hair will wrap around any brush over time. It just happens more slowly here than with the cheaper robots I used years ago. Mopping has been the bigger change in how my floors look. I am not talking about making the floor look like it was hand scrubbed with a brush, but it does keep the kitchen and hallway from building up that dull, sticky film. The pads spin while it moves, and in my place that has been more effective than the drag-style mops I have tried before. I tested it on dried splashes near the stove and muddy paw prints by the door. If the stain is fresh or light, one pass usually handles it. If it is dried on and I ignored it for a few days, it might need a second run or a targeted zone clean. That is still fine for me, because the point is that I am not on my knees doing it. One detail I appreciate is how it handles rugs while mopping. It can lift the mop pads when it detects carpet. In practice, that means I do not have to choose between vacuuming the rug and mopping the nearby hard floor. It just transitions. I have one medium pile rug that it climbs onto without issue and keeps going. On a thicker rug at the edge of my living room, I did have one moment where a mop pad shifted slightly after it bumped the rug edge at an awkward angle. It did not fall off completely, but it was enough that I now make sure the pads are pressed on properly before a run. It takes 5 seconds, but it is worth mentioning. The dock is honestly the reason I touched the robot less than I expected. The dustbin inside the robot is small, like most robots, but the dock empties it automatically. In my routine, I only think about the bag every few weeks. It depends on how much dirt you have, pets, and how often it runs, but it is not something I am dealing with daily. The water situation is also simple. The dock holds clean water and dirty water, and the robot refills itself. I still have to dump the dirty water tank and refill the clean one, but it is the kind of task I do when I notice it, not something that blocks a cleaning run. Noise depends on the mode. On a normal setting, I can be in the next room and it is just background noise. If I set it to maximum suction, it is loud enough that I would not want it running during a call. I handle that by scheduling it for when I am out or when nobody is trying to nap. Battery life has been fine for my space. I have seen it run for a long session and still have power to spare, but if you push maximum suction the whole time, any robot is going to drain faster. In a larger home, it might need to recharge and continue, and that is normal. The app is where you shape the experience. I use it to label rooms, set no-go zones, and adjust how much water it uses on different floors. I like that I can tell it to avoid an area with cables or to focus on the kitchen after cooking. Voice control is there too. I tried it with a smart speaker and it worked, but most of the time I just use the schedule. The only time the app frustrated me was when my internet connection got spotty. The robot will still clean, but the app feels slower, and I have had a schedule not sync properly until the connection stabilized. There are limitations, and I want to be clear about them. Obstacle avoidance is decent, not flawless. If your home regularly has small clutter on the floor, you will still need to pick up before runs, or accept that sometimes it will bump something or get stuck. Edge cleaning is good for a robot, but it is not perfect. Along baseboards it gets most of the dust, but you will still see the occasional thin line in tight corners. Also, the dock is large. If you have no spare wall space, that might be the biggest practical issue. Overall, living with the Qrevo S has made my floors look consistently cleaner with less effort from me. It has not eliminated real cleaning, but it lowered how often I feel like I need to do a full vacuum and mop session myself. The dock features are what make it feel manageable long term, because I am not constantly emptying bins and dealing with damp pads. If your goal is to keep up with everyday dust, hair, and footprints on mixed floors, and you are willing to do small prep like picking up cables, it fits well into a normal routine. If you have questions about how it would handle your layout or your flooring, leave a comment and I will try to help based on what I have seen using it. If this video was useful, subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this. Thank you for watching.